Hello everyone, this is Arrow, and welcome back to Sundown Moon Up Podfics. Today we're going to be finishing Stray Cat by SkylarSkyHigh and Terox X. Chapter 10. Summary. Even though Izuku usually runs off, Shouta still has hope that it will not happen one day. Maybe he's luckier this time. Shouta walked into his apartment complex with his stray in tow. Izuku looked around the apartment. "You can have the spare room again. Are you hungry?" Shouta asked as he started taking off his shoes. "I guess," Izuku mumbled. Shouta nodded. He took off his gear and headed to the kitchen to start getting on some very late dinner. Who knew when his stray had last eaten? Izuku stared at him as he moved. He started hearing some noises from the kitchen. Aizawa was going to cook? Why? For himself? Izuku looked around the apartment. He'd been here a few times and not much had changed. That meant he knew where things were, which brought him a bit of comfort. Familiarity was something of a weird concept to him. Streets, buildings, and shops were familiar to him. It made him feel safe, even if little things did change, like the fact that he hadn't been greeted by a cat. He loved cats. They were really affectionate once he managed to gain their trust, and the cats were everywhere. And there came the kittens. Izuku smiled a little and kneeled down to greet the tiny fluff balls. The kittens meowed enthusiastically. "Hello there," Izuku greeted quietly. One of the kittens pawed him happily. "You're adorable," Izuku cooed. The kittens mewed happily as they begged for pets. Izuku happily gave them some. The kittens leaned into the touch happily. "You're so cute," Izuku said to them. The kittens mewed at him happily. "So happy. Happy little kittens," Izuku cooed cutely. The kittens cuddled against him with a purr. "Affectionate kitties," Izuku said softly. The kittens meowed, seemingly agreeing. Shouta stared at his stray from the kitchen. He looked happy. It was nice to see him smile a bit. He refocused on the food he was making and made sure his stray wouldn't be uncomfortable with all the staring. He knew this was a delicate process. The kid was putting a lot of trust in him, more than ever before. He had to make sure to be deserving of that trust. He needed to make sure he'd fulfill what he'd promised, a safe home. He could do it. He knew he could. Shouta finished food up quickly. He carried it to the living room, making sure not to be too quiet. Izuku turned around to face him when he walked in, one kitten playing with his hand. The other kitten tried to scale his leg. Shouta smiled assuringly. "I have some dinner for you." Izuku stared at the food for a moment before nodding. He gently removed the kittens from his body. The kittens meowed indignantly, trying to get back to him. "They like you a lot," Shouta noted. "I'm used to cats," Izuku said, and mimicked a purr to the kittens. Not quite the same, it lacked the vibration and rumble, but the sound was close. The kittens stared at him a moment before purring back happily. Izuku smiled softly and continued to mimic a purr. The kittens cuddled against him happily. Shouta smiled softly and handed the plate to Izuku. "Here, the kittens won't leave you." The kittens meowed happily. "Thanks," Izuku said and took the food. Shouta smiled at him and moved away. Izuku started eating slowly, making sure the kittens wouldn't swipe at the food. The kittens didn't try, only cuddling against him happily. Izuku smiled. Maybe this wouldn't be too bad. After he finished eating, Izuku went to take a shower. It was nice to have a shower, a warm one no less, and then clean clothes and a warm bed. It was also new to him. Not entirely new, but it had been such a long time. It was nice to have all that again, he thought as he fell into the fluffy bed. It was so comfortable and warm. A stable roof over his head, no worries about bugs and villains creeping in. It was amazing. But he soon found out that, despite the comfort, he couldn't sleep. His paranoia was a bitch like that. Izuku sighed and closed his eyes tightly. He was tired. But no matter what he did, he couldn't sleep. It sucked. He stared at the ceiling as he laid in bed. This sucked. He just wanted one night of peaceful sleep. Was that too much to ask for? Apparently it was. His traitorous body hated him. He just wanted to sleep. Maybe he could keep the cat's company. It would hopefully distract him a bit. So he got out of bed and left the room. The kittens looked up sleepily from their bed in the living room. The smaller, black one mewed softly. Izuku smiled softly. Sorry, did I wake you? The other kitten got up with a yawn and stretched. Izuku walked over and sat down in front of the kittens. Sorry, I couldn't sleep. I thought I'd keep you company. The golden kitten climbed into his lap and cuddled him with a purr. The black one patted over and laid down next to him. Izuku smiled softly at them and gently ran a hand down their backs. They both purred happily. Izuku let a small smile grow on his face. The black kitten got up and climbed his leg. Yes? Izuku smiled at the kitten. The kitten mewed softly and cuddled against him. Izuku held the kitten close. The purring helped ease his nerves he hadn't known he had. The kittens cuddled him happily, trying to comfort him. It kinda sucks not being able to sleep, Izuku admitted to the kittens. Maybe it's because this place isn't familiar. I guess I'm still wary that Eraser might turn me in. My nerves won't let me rest. The black kitten licked his hand. Izuku smiled softly and pet the kitten. I wish I didn't have anything to worry about like you two. He obviously takes good care of you. The golden kitten mushed his head against him and mewed. He's a great pet owner, isn't he? Izuku smiled. He's so kind and caring, and he makes sure you're always clean and fed. The black kitten meowed, almost in agreement. It must be lonely sometimes, huh? Izuku hummed, gently petting the kittens. He works a lot, so you two are left alone. The black kitten pawed him a bit before snuggling into him. Izuku hummed softly. I guess you guys have each other. I wish I had that. The golden kitten climbed onto his shoulder. Izuku made sure the kitten wouldn't fall. I really hope he will treat me as good as he does you. He's the first person who doesn't care that I'm quirkless. The kitten meowed softly. It's true, no one else cares about me. He's the first other than my mother, of course, Izuku said and leaned against the wall. The golden kitten licked his cheek gently. Izuku giggled a little. It's been a long time. I'm not upset anymore. The black kitten looked up at him and blinked. Izuku felt warmth in his chest and blinked back. The golden one meowed and blinked too. Izuku blinked back. The kittens cuddled into him happily. You're so sweet. Izuku hugged them. The kittens purred softly. You're adorable, Izuku cooed. The kittens looked happy with that and mushed their little heads against him. The greenette giggled happily. The black kitten licked his hand gently. Izuku smiled softly at the kittens. Keeping them company didn't sound bad. Aizawa woke up the next morning and headed begrudgingly to the kitchen. He was dragging his feet, half dead, unless he gets his coffee. He paused when he saw a lump on the floor. He blinked the sleep from his eyes as he stared at the kid and the two sleeping kittens. Interesting. And cute. Aizawa let a smile grow before sneaking to the kitchen, but not to disturb the kittens and stray. Chapter 11. Epilogue. Aizawa yawned tiredly as he led his class into the field for some training. His students trailed after him silently. Aizawa frowned as he explained the exercise. The students listened intently. Also, I have someone with me today who will help us, Shouta explained. There were murmurs of confusion and excitement. Who is it, Sensei? One of his students, Uraraka, asked. You'll find out soon enough, Shouta replied, waving Izuku over to him. A moment later, someone hopped over the students and skillfully landed beside their teacher. The person was wearing a black jumpsuit with green dark highlights around his sides, black gloves that were covering his forearms, combat boots, a utility belt, a visor with a mask to cover his mouth, and a familiar capture weapon. Hello, students, the person waved. This is Deku, Shouta explained. Bakugo stared for a few seconds before he exploded. Deku, what are you doing here? Deku tilted his head. Hello there. Bakugo glared at him hatefully, his hands sparking with explosions. Shouta erased his quirk. I feel bad for you, Eraser. I already found a problem child, Izuku commented. Shouta hummed. I always get the more problematic children. I wonder why, Izuku snickered. Who is he? Uraraka asked. The name Deku sounds familiar. Shouta looked at them, deadpan. If you're aiming to become a hero and have no idea about the heroes that already exist, you're only wasting my time. Give them some slack, Deku said with a small hand wave. He pulled off his visor and mask, showing off green eyes, fluffy curly green hair, and an undercut, and freckles on his cheek. The quirkless hero, Deku. Deku grinned at their shocked faces. Shouta rolled his eyes. Deku will help me teach you today, he announced. I expect you to treat him with respect. A few students raised their hands. Shouta sighed and called on them. No offense, but how did someone quirkless become a hero? Asui asked. Isn't it dangerous? Being a hero is dangerous, period, Shouta replied. Most heroes don't survive the first year after being licensed. Deku survived 3 years, meaning he's better than 70% of all heroes that have existed. The class stared at the two heroes in shock. Izuku smiled at their faces. Treat him with respect, Shouta repeated. But how can he be a hero without a quirk? Shouta sighed. Deku, do you want to demonstrate? Izuku shrugged. Sure, let's start with some trivial quizzes. He pointed out a random student, a tall girl with a ponytail. You, which time of the day is crime the highest? Night? Yaoyorozu replied. What? Kaminari asked in confusion. But it isn't supposed to be day? We see more villains in the daytime. Yaoyorozu frowned. If you want to commit a crime, you'd rather do it at night where you won't garner as much attention and won't be arrested. Hence why you see more villains in daytime. They're just stupid and want attention, she explained. Correct. Wow, Eraser, you've got a smart one this time. Izuku smiled smugly at Shouta. Better than last year's batch for sure. Shouta groaned. Don't remind me. Izuku laughed. I had to suffer with you for a whole week. I'm just shocked they even got in the hero course at all. At everyone's confused look, Izuku happily provided information. Eraserhead here expelled his entire class last year. Let's just say it's one of the worst classes we've ever seen, full of entitled little shits that think having a strong quirk would get them anywhere in life. His voice turned steely near the end, and his eyes sharper, but his smile stayed on his face. Yes, Shouta sighed. I can and will expel any of you who do not take this seriously, which is probably one of the reasons why UA students have such a low morality rate. Izuku took delight at their faces. What do you think heroes do? You, with the pink hair. They keep civilians safe and make them feel safe by being around, Ashido replied. That's one part. You with the red hair. The student blinked. What do you think heroes do? Izuku repeated the question. Fight villains? Fighting villains and rescuing civilians, Izuku nodded. Tell me, do you think that job is simple? No, it's not, because you're fighting people who can seriously hurt you. You're fighting to save lives. Their lives are in your hands. One mistake will mean someone dies or gets injured. Do you think someone who is fucking around can be a good hero? When someone's life is on the line, when civilians are destroying a city, when you have people crying and looking to you for help, do you think you can afford to joke around? Izuku stared into their souls with sharp, dark green eyes. What are you going to tell a grieving mother when you can't save her child because you weren't good enough? Look her in the eye and say that you couldn't save her child because you were playing around and only got a license and became a hero for fame, because you want to be the strongest, forgetting the whole reason heroes exist in the first place. Heroics isn't a game. You risk lives, not just your own. You don't take things seriously, people get hurt. The whole class collectively shuddered. This is the hero course. You're here to be the best hero you can be. Give it your all because in a few years, people will have to depend on you to help them, Izuku said seriously. When in doubt, remember one thing. A hero's job is to save lives, including your own. The students stared in shock. What? Did you think we idolize sending heroes to their death? Izuku grinned. You'll learn there's a fine line between self-sacrifice and suicide. Just because it's your job to save others, it doesn't mean your life is less than theirs and that you need to lose it in order to be validated. So work hard, heroes. You'll go through hell, but in the end, UA will mold you into mold you to be prepared when you step foot outside these gates as licensed pro heroes. Shouta gave a satisfied nod. Couldn't have said it better. Now, I did promise to show how a quirkless kid got to be a pro hero. Izuku grinned and put on his visor and mask. Yo, Bakugo, you always wanted to fight. Let's fight. Shouta smirked and watched Bakugo step towards his kid. Izuku stretched out a little. Anything goes except for kill shots. Bakugo scoffed. Everyone stepped back and watched. Who do you think will win? Kaminari asked. The explosion boy, most likely, Sero answered. Hard to beat an amazing quirk while not having one. Shouta frowned. They should not underestimate someone. That would mean death. He calmly watched Izuku warm up a bit. Bakugo did not. A mistake. Eraser, Izuku called. You're the countdown. Shouta nodded. 3, 2, 1, go. Bakugo charged towards his opponent with an explosion. Izuku waited for him to come close before he dodged to the side, away from the explosion. Bakugo screamed angrily and whirled around to attack him with a left hook. Izuku grabbed his arm and twisted his body to body slam Bakugo to the ground without releasing his arm. He pinned Bakugo with his arm behind his back, palms away from him. Bakugo grunted in pain, trying to struggle. Meanwhile, Shouta wasn't sure whether to be super proud of his son or immensely disappointed in Bakugo. Izuku twisted his wrist just right to cause pain. Surrender. Bakugo growled angrily. Izuku didn't budge. Eventually, Bakugo went slack. Izuku grinned under his mask and released Bakugo. He turned to the class. So? They just stared silently. Izuku grinned. Never underestimate your enemy. Shouta nodded in agreement. It can end really badly for you. Bakugo scoffed as he got up. Izuku removed his mask and visor smugly. Got any questions? They were stunned. There was stunned silence. What? No questions? Izuku hummed in mock disappointment. Eraser, I thought your class was more engaging. Give him a second. Shouta chuckled. That was awesome! How did you do that? Can you teach us that? Much better, Izuku praised with a grin. Don't worry, Eraser here will teach you what you need to know. I'll drop by from time to time to give some helpful tips. Can't rely on your quirk too much. Don't scare them too bad, Shouta joked. Aw, but where's the fun in that? Izuku grinned. True, they're a tough bunch, Shouta hummed. Are they planning our demise? Kaminari whispered to Sero. We are, and we can hear you, Shouta said. Kaminari flinched in alarm. Izuku cackled. He smirked at the students, sending chills up their spines. Welcome to hell, future heroes. Shouta grinned, and together they laughed. Izuku smiled happily as he stared at Shouta. Maybe happy endings did happen, and maybe not all heroes were bad. He never would have thought he would be here, as a hero, living with a hero who didn't care that he was quirkless, helping him teach hero hopefuls. Life was weird sometimes. He knew it was hard to trust, but sometimes there were people who just weren't as bad as the ones he had met before. Not everyone was bad. You just have to learn to trust again. Alright everyone, that is the end of Stray Cat. I really love fics where Izuku mimics Eraser's personality. It's just a fun, chaotic duo that I love so much. I also love vigilante Izuku quirks, but sometimes they're just too angsty, so I don't read them as much. But if you guys have any recommendations for vigilante Izuku, let me know. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you all soon. Bye!